Heavenly Father, we thank and bless you for this day, for Father Roy, to be here in Singapore, in the parish of Lady Queen of Peace, as he grant his time to enrich us with the theological dimension of the Virgin Mary, Mother Mary, as our parish celebrate the 65th anniversary of our parish dedicated to Our Lady Queen of Peace. So let us welcome Father Roy. We'll sing a hymn.
So, good evening, friends. So, I am not stranger to the parish of Our Lady of Queen of Peace. No, I am very happy. I am really grateful to Reverend Father Timothy, my friend, over many years, for this wonderful opportunity to be part of your celebration of 65 years of the founding of the parish, isn't it? Yes. Indeed, we are all privileged. I tell my students back in India, in Bangalore especially, if you want to be young and attractive, you should do two things. One is learn something new every day. The other is do some good to somebody every day. These things will do more than what your makeup things can do to you, or so many ointments, perfumes, and bodybuilding and gym can do to you. More than all this, learn something new every day and do some good to somebody every day. It need not be an extraordinary thing. It can be a very, very simple thing. A word of encouragement to a little one is a good thing. Especially the younger ones should remember, my friends, all the service and the youth should remember we should do some good to some day. Commenting on the experience of Moses encountering the Lord in the burning bush, the great Cardinal Martini said, Moses, when he was called by the Lord from the burning bush, he was 80 years of age. How many years? 80 years. But he did not lose the sense of wonder. He said, it is burning, but it is not consumed. I will go near. So every believer, he says, should have the sense of wonder. In that way, to learn something new and to build yourself more according to the will of God that you have come. I am really very happy. Today, being the first day, I said to myself, we should know something about the devotion to Mary or Mariology in history and tradition, especially in the first 5 centuries. That will be very relevant to us. Many of our brothers and sisters don't know. Then we will not end up in exaggeration of the devotion to Mary or belittling her unique importance. in as a member of the church. That is my intention today as I come to you to share with you. First of all, in the early church, there was the paganism in the Byzantine world. And then in the early centuries, when Christianity was slowly growing, there were so many mother goddesses, Manya Mata as they are called. Cybele in Phrygia, that is, there was Cybele is one goddess. Then Ashtaroth in Palestine. Ashtaroth was another mother goddess in the early century. And then you have Isis in Egypt, and then Diana in Ephesus. These were all mother goddesses. Mother goddesses. Before Christianity became an official religion. So, these gods satisfied a deep-seated need for material protection, womanly understanding, which the male gods could not fill for the people of that time. These female gods, they were more understanding, loving. The male gods were somewhat of a threatening figure. So people liked the female gods before they became Christians. Now, in this, when Christianity spread in Judea, from the point of view of the believers, the teachers had to make sure that we have only one God. So first point that we all should know, we should teach others also is, Mary is not goddess. Because at the time of the beginning of Christianity, there were so many female goddesses. Mary did not replace one of the earlier female gods like Ashtaroth or Isis or Diana. So that was the important thing that we have to remember, that the teachers of faith were all conscious not to replace Mary with one of the goddesses of the pagan world, one of the goddesses of the Mediterranean world. So that is one point that we have to know. Emphasis on Virgin Mother might have led to comparison and identification. That's why in the early church, not so much was spoken of about Mother Mary. At the same time, they wanted to affirm the real birth of Christ from a real woman was stressed. So St. Paul writes to the Galatians 4th chapter, 4th verse, God sent his son made of a woman. So only once St. Paul himself speaks of Mary, that too in these words, God sent his son born of a woman. In the apostolic fathers, so many of them did not speak about Mary at all, because they were afraid. People should not wrongly think that Mary is goddess. If I begin to talk something, there will be a danger. So to cite an example, for example, Clement of Rome, in his letter to the Corinthians, did not mention Mary at all. Clement of Rome is an important father. No, one of the successor of Peter. No, Clement of Rome. He did not write at all about Mary. The Didache, an important book of the early church, teaching of the 12 apostles, it never mentions Mary at all. And also the epistle of Barnabas also does not mention Mary at all. We should know why there was hesitation to speak about Mother Mary in the beginning. Then coming to the next point, Ignatius of Antioch. He was living in the context of Gnosticism. So he wanted to say Christ appeared as the Gnostics said Christ appeared as a man, but did not take a human body. So this was the teaching of the Gnostics. In this context, he wanted to assert that Jesus was born of Mary. That's why his teaching, for the first time, dwells on Mary. He speaks of Christ being born out of Mary, out of God. These are the famous expressions of Ignatius of Antioch. Christ was born out of Mary and out of God. He was carried in the womb, he says. So to speak about the real birth of Christ, because some people say Christ only appeared as human, he was not human. He was in fact human. That needed to be stressed. Then afterwards, nearly 30 years, there was so much silence about Mary. They did not speak in the beginning. Most of the things were from apocryphal writings. Now also, many of the people tend to believe the apocryphal stories as inspired and real. There may be some element of truth, but not necessarily everything that is reported in the apocryphal is true. You might have heard about some stories about Mother Mary. You know some stories about the birth of Mother Mary already? Anything at all? About the parents of Mother Mary, how they gave birth to Mary. So something you would have heard, surely, about the parents' birth of Mother Mary. You know what is the apocryphal writings? Have you heard about this apocryphal writing? Those writings similar to the gospel, but then they are not declared as inspired books by the church. There were so many, for example, New Testament, we have how many books? How many books are there in the New Testament? Why you are all keeping quiet?
27.
27. New Testament, 27 books. Besides these 27 books, so many other books were written during those times. But then the church selected them and then declared that only these 27 are inspired. They are part of the Holy Scriptures. Like that, there are some other interesting stories, story books. Some truth, and then sometimes there are other things which are exaggerations. One such book is called the Ascension of Isaiah. One of the books, apocryphal books, is in the early churches, Ascension of Isaiah. I want to read from some of the things. There, for example, it speaks about the birth of Jesus. For example, Mary straightway looked with her eyes and saw a small babe, and she was astonished. Her womb was found as formerly before she had conceived. Do you think one basic question that we will see in the early church understanding of Mary is, one such thing is, did Mary give birth to baby Jesus in the normal way, or suddenly baby was there? What do you think? What is your belief? Normal way. Do you believe it? Amen. Did she give birth as a virgin? This is an important thing, because many of the non-Catholics, Lombardists, we do not know about all these things because we exaggerate it and so on and so forth. So what do you say? So I can take this in my hand over there? No? When I go to the board, you can wipe off, I can make use of it. But this mic also can be held in the hand, no?
Yes.
Yeah, no way. Okay. See, this is one important thing that I wanted to say. For instance, with regard to the virginity of Mother Mary, in Latin they will say ante partum. 3 words. I'm sure some of my young students are writing, they are very serious. Then in partu, virginity in part 2, virginity postpartum. So Mary was virgin before the birth of Jesus, and during the birth of Jesus, and after the birth of Jesus. So So this is what is often stated. But then, what about this one is not all the time stated by all of them. This in parthu virginity is not at all stated. So many people think in parthu virginity. The teaching of the church, I would say, is ante parthum and post parthum. Later on we will see, some of them will say, after Jesus was born, Mary lived a normal family life with Joseph. The brothers of Jesus were like that. Some of them will say, but church doesn't accept it. So Jesus is the only son. But what is more is, many fathers of the church even assert this. But this is in the apocryphal books. That means Mary did not give birth in the normal way. She was like any other woman, only gave birth. She did not have labor pains. Suddenly she looked at, the baby was there. No, not at all. She had the baby. So in order to exaggerate the importance of Mary, to make her semi-God, people said she is virgin even during the birth. How can she be virgin during the birth? Then Jesus would not be a normal baby. Jesus would not be a normal baby. That's what I am saying. That's why you see, we have to believe. Ever virgin doesn't mean while giving birth also Mary was virgin. Ever virgin doesn't mean. Surely ante parthum, she did not know man. That is enough. Afterwards also, some of the non-Catholics would say post parthum she was not a virgin. After giving birth, she had normal relations with Joseph. Some of the other sects will say like that, to belittle Mary. But the Catholic Church will not accept that she was not a virgin after the birth of, she continued to be a virgin after the birth of Jesus. But in parthu virginity, the church does not force us to believe, because that will take away the natural humanness of both Mary and Jesus. So you understand the point. So for example, this one says, Mary straight away, in this book it is written like that, Ascension of Isaiah. Mary straight away looked with her eyes and saw a small babe, and she was astonished. Her womb was found as formerly before she had conceived. Because it was written like that, the church did not recognize this book. The church did not recognize this book as inspired. Then another sentence says, Mary gave birth without midwife. Perhaps influenced by the birth of Moses. In Jewish Haggadah, there is a story about Moses. Then Words of Solomon is another book. One of the early books I am reading from. The virgin became mother with many mercies. She travailed and brought forth a son without incurring pain. She brought forth as if she was a man. See how it is written. Mary brought forth Jesus as if she were a man. That means they said Mary did not have any labor pain at all. Mary brought him forth openly, acquired him in great power, loved him in salvation, and then guarded him in kindness, showed him in majesty. Contrast this with the humble Mary of Luke's Gospel. So there were some stories. Sometimes even today we are influenced, my dear brothers and sisters, by these kind of apocryphal stories. Apocryphal stories. So we should not be too much influenced by these stories and take away that Mary is a believer, Mary is a member of the church, Mary is like you and me in many ways. That we should not forget. Then another more common apocryphal book is Proto-Evangelium of James. Let me see how it is written. Mary was born when Joachim and Anne were very old. The Gospels do not tell this. They were very old. And when she was 6 months, she walked 7 steps unaided. When baby Mary was 6 months, she walked 7 steps unaided, it seems. In this book it is written, Proto-Evangelium of James. And then Anne took her up. As the Lord God lives, you shall not walk till I bring you to the temple. She made a sanctuary in the chamber. She never touched the ground until 3 years. According to this book, Proto-Evangelium of James, Mary never touched the ground, it seems, until she was 3 years. When she was 3 years, she was taken to the temple of Jerusalem. The priest made her sit on the third step. The Lord caused grace to descend on her, and she danced with the feet, and all Israel danced. 3-year-old Mary, the 3-year-old Mary is dancing in the third step of the Jerusalem temple. See all these stories. And then she was nourished by angels till 12 years. Then how Mary got married. Council of priests assembled all widowers of Israel, from whom Joseph was miraculously chosen. At first Joseph refused because of his age. And then he obeyed finally when the priest threatened the wrath of God. God's wrath will fall upon them. See, again and again, they are showing Joseph as a very old man in order to protect the virginity of Mary. So these are all stories. We do not have any basis for the gospel, nor has the church accepted them. Nor has the church accepted them. So that's why we should know these are stories. Influence is influence on preaching, liturgy, and then it doesn't have much theological significance. So like this, I don't want to go into the detail of all these stories. Then we come by the year 165, Justin the Martyr. Justin the Martyr. He wrote a book called Dialogue with the Jew Trypho. Justin the Trypho said, Neanis, Isaiah 7:14 means, Neanis means young girl. But then Justin the Martyr said, not young, merely young girl, it is Parthenos, means virgin. Virgin will conceive. So it was Justin the Martyr. Then one of the important things, he started this in 165. It went on being repeated, the Eve-Mary parallelism. Eve and Mary, Mother Mary contrasted. The old woman, the new woman. The old woman believed the devil, the serpent. New woman believed God. Old woman brought death, new woman brought life. Old woman disobeyed God, new woman obeyed God. So many fathers of the church look at Mary as the new Eve who obeyed God and cooperated with God, and then who brought us life. That is, starting with Justin the Martyr, this Eve made parallelism. Again and again we will hear. Even in our prayer, that's good. We look at Mary as the new Eve, contrasting how she brought life to us. That one is that. Here for example, he says, Justin the Martyr, Eve conceived the word of serpent and brought forth disobedience and death. The Blessed Virgin Mary conceived faith and joy when Gabriel announced good tidings, be it done to me according to thy word. Then same thing also is repeated by Saint Irenaeus. He died in the year 202, Saint Irenaeus, first great theologian of Christendom. So he also speaks about this contrasting Eve and Mary. He says, Mary is obedient by saying, behold the handmaid of the Lord. But Eve is disobedient, does not obey, even though she was a virgin. Even though she was a virgin, Eve did not obey. Both were virgins. One brought death, other brought life, while having husbands. Knot of Eve's disobedience was dissolved by Mary's obedience. What Virgin Mary tied up by unbelief, Virgin Mary loosened by faith. How beautiful it is. So the Eve-Mary parallelism started by Justin. And Irenaeus speaks about it very elaborately. Some more beautiful sentences I was going through. Through obedience, Mary is the cause of salvation for herself and for the human race. Mary is the cause of salvation. And through disobedience, Eve is the cause of death. What was bound by Eve, loosened by Mary. Mary becomes advocate or comforter of the Virgin Eve. So, rescuer of the whole human race. And then at the same time, even Irenaeus finds fault with Mary. What are the faults of Mary? Now you tell me. Did Mary ever make any mistake? So this is a shocking question, isn't it? But some of the fathers of the church speak about the mistakes of Mary, or faults of Mary. Do you think anywhere Mary made any mistake? You are all very, very loyal Catholics, devout Catholics. I am very happy about it. Anywhere any mistake was there? Yes. Finding of Jesus. Actually, Irenaeus speaks about it. I am very happy about it. About that, she is, later on we will see about St. John Chrysostom will be scolding Mary. You know, John Chrysostom, such a powerful preacher. He will be very hard. He will be very hard on Mary, John Chrysostom. So here what he says, in the wedding of Cana, the Lord, this one says, speaks about in the wedding of Cana, the Lord repels Mary's untimely haste. Mary hurries to admirable sign of wine. So this is what this mistake he finds. Regarding the finding fault with the finding of Jesus, that we will see later. Then again, another church father is again Tertullian. He also died in the year 220. He speaks about Eve-Mary parallelism and so on. But then something Tertullian said is also, which we don't accept today, though he is a father of the church, he wanted to emphasize that one man, one woman. In order to emphasize that, he wanted to say that Mary lived as normal husband and wife with Joseph. So, just as Mary was one wife of Joseph, you also practice one wife only, one husband only, he said. That is Tertullian. Even some of the fathers of the church. There he speaks about imperfections in Mary already. One is Matthew 12:46. Christ rejected Mary and the brethren who were seeking him, because they said Jesus is mentally off. So that's why they went to seek him. So Christ rejects, he says. And then when a woman shouts, blessed are is the womb that bore you under, Jesus corrects her enthusiasm, he says. And he says Mary is among the followers and all. I don't want to go into all the fathers of the church, but one thing you remember, that some of the fathers of the church have really found fault also with Mary regarding certain aspects of it. You know what is the first prayer addressed to Mary? You might have seen some places. First ever prayer made to Mary. It is not the first prayer. So this is the prayer found in the 3rd century already, or beginning of the 4th century. Mother of God, it was found in a papyrus. You can even write it afterwards. You can write it. Mother of God, hear my supplications. Mother of God, hear my supplications. Hear my supplications. Suffer us not to be in adversity, but deliver us from danger. but deliver us from danger. See, in Velankani, also in our place, this prayer is written in the Mariology Institute, because this was supposed to be the first ever prayer asking for the intercession of Mother Mary. Mother of God, hear my supplications, suffer us not to be in adversity, but deliver us from danger. So this was there already in the end of the 3rd century or beginning of the 4th century. Other minor fathers, I don't want to speak to you now, but so many fathers of the church have spoken on Mother Mary. One of the important ones again is Athanasius, who was born in 296 and died in 373. So he speak about the divinity of Christ, and then he writes a letter to the virgins, and then he says Mary was a virgin always, because he was entrusted to Saint John. Not if he had other brethren, Jesus would have entrusted him to the other brothers. Mary did not have other children. That's why Saint Athanasius says Mary was entrusted to John the beloved apostle. One such teaching he says. And then, okay, I skip. More important is Epiphanius. If we know the teaching of Epiphanius, we will know the right understanding of Mariology. Please remember this name, Epiphanius. Because I am going into it because so many people are criticizing us by not proper knowledge about the role of Mary in divine plan and in the gospel. Already Epiphanius, who died in 403, gave us the right teaching about Mother Mary. During his time, there were a group called Anti-Deco-Marianites. Father Tim will know because it is like the Italian word. Anti means against, no? Anti-Deco. Deco means dire. Dire means speak. Deco-Marianites. This is a group. They always spoke against Mother Mary. Already in the end of the 4th century, beginning of the beginning of the 5th century, 403 he died. Anti-Deco-Marianites were there during his time. They were flourishing in Arabia, and they even said that Mary and Joseph had sexual relations. This Anti-Deco-Marianites group. So, Anti-Deco-Marianites. Anti means against. Deco means speak. Marianites. Anti-Deco-Marianites. So, these people were speaking against Mary. So, against them, he said, Mary is ever virgin. Whenever we mention Mary, we always say ever virgin. So, Epiphanius said, Mary is ever virgin. He reminded them who did not speak of Mary and immediately add the word virgin. So Epiphanius is the one who said this. And then Epiphanius said, again taken from the Apocrypha, Joseph was a widower. He was 80 years when he married Mary and he had 6 children. This is from that story he has taken. Okay, that we need not believe. But then Mary had no children by Joseph. That's why Jesus entrusted Mary to John. Like Athanasius, he also said the same thing. Mary had no other children. Then the lioness gives birth only once. Like that, Mary gave birth to the Lion of Judah, that is Jesus, once only. He says like that. Then one of the famous sentences of Epiphanius is, he who honors the Lord honors also the holy vessel. He who honors the Lord honors also the holy vessel. He who dishonors the holy vessel also dishonors his Lord. Let Mary be by herself the holy virgin, the holy vessel. So Epiphanius calls Mary the holy vessel. Epiphanius calls Mary the holy vessel. Mary, mother of the living. Eve, mother of the dead. Again, Eve, Mary, parallelism. So, mother of the living. So, he is the one who first decides that Revelation 12th chapter speaks of Mary. First witness to Assumption of Mary. Then there was another group during Epiphanius' time. Even recently, I was speaking about it. Collyridians. So you should know about this. When you want to know, Collyridians. Colly means cake. People who prepare some cake and offer it to Mary, like Eucharist, and then eat it as the Blessed Eucharist. So there was such a group in the beginning of the 5th century. The Collyridians, what they did, a sect mostly of women in Thracia, in Upper Scythia. What they were doing, some of the people know, especially Legion of Mary people must be very careful not to follow these people, not to follow this group. They adorn a chair or square throne, spread linen cloth over it. On a certain day, place bread and offer it in the name of Mary and partake of it. So, in the name of Mary, they adorn the table with a silk cloth and then keep some bread and then offer it to Mary and partake of it. So, this was one of the first exaggerations in the devotion to Mary. So, what Epiphanius said, no woman can exercise priestly functions, not even Mary herself. There is distinction between worship and veneration. So these Collyridians were trying to worship Mary. So Epiphanius, the important father of the church, was against it. His words, the body of Mary was indeed holy, but it was not God. I am reading from Epiphanius. The body of Mary was indeed holy, but it was not God. The Virgin was indeed a virgin and revered, but she was not given us for worship, but herself worshipped Him who was born in the flesh from her. Mary is not given to us for worship. Mary is, she herself worshipped God. So Epiphanius already corrected right at the end of the 4th century. Some of the people do not know. We give importance to Mary, all right. But then know the teaching of the father of the church, which is approved by the church. So this is very important. Honor Mary, but let the Father, Son and the Holy Spirit be worshipped. Honor Mary, but let the Father, Son and the Spirit be worshipped. But let no one worship Mary, even though Mary is the most beautiful, holy and venerable. She is not to be worshipped. Very clear. Many Catholic priests have failed to teach this to our people very clearly. Honor Mary, but then even though Mary is the most beautiful, holy and venerable, she is not to be worshipped. It is not right to honor the saints beyond their due. So these are the words of Epiphanius, the right name. That's why we speak about worship and adoration and veneration. Worship is only to God. God. And adoration is only to God. Veneration is to the saints, especially to Mother Mary. The distinction must be kept. Just yesterday, someone told me, one of the people belonging to another denomination. Who are you? Said, the person said, I am Christian. No, you are not Christian, you are Catholic. We are only Christians. In Singapore, some of the other groups are thinking that we are not Christians. They are Christians, we are Catholic. Catholics are not Christians, they are thinking. The reason is, you are worshipping Mary. They are using this word, you are worshipping Mary. When somebody tells us, we should be telling them very clearly, we are Christians. We are worshipping Christ. We are worshipping the triune God, Father, Son and the Holy Spirit only. See, lack of understanding, not out of animosity. The whole understanding is like this. Whole understanding is like this. The teaching, sometimes we ourselves give meaning. See, I sometimes tell them, you go to your church, when the Mass is going on, Eucharist or Word of God is being proclaimed, going and touching the statue of Our Lady and doing. In many shrines it happens. In India also, sometimes, So the priests or the volunteers do not at that time block it. They think, so this is more important than the Word of God being proclaimed or the Eucharistic participation. I tell them in defense of the Catholics, they don't do it. Only they may be non-Catholics also coming or non-baptized also coming. They have some devotion to Our Lady. They don't know the importance of the Word of God and the Eucharist. We tell them. But then, even the Catholics in some places, in some remote places, in some parts of the world, because of lack of sufficient understanding, they are sometimes doing it. So see Epiphanius' teaching. Afterwards also, now you have net, just read about Epiphanius, what all he said about the right veneration of saints and right worship of God. It will be very, very useful, very, very useful. Now I come to my favorite friend John Chrysostom. Not because he attacked Mary, because he is a powerful preacher. Some of his preachings are given to us in the Divine Office. For that matter, I have recorded the whole Divine Office in my voice. Those of you who give me the WhatsApp number, I will send it to them. 365 files for weekdays, in English only, and then 186 files for saints. In our breviary, 186. Each reading is about 6 minutes. At least you can say, I don't have time to read. Nobody can say, I don't have time to listen. No. Every day, you don't, when you go, as soon as you get up, that day saint, at least 6 minutes, either on the saint or by the saint. Please popularize it. I will be very grateful. I spent hundreds of hours. You should spend 3 minutes to just copy and listen. So it is obligatory for priests that we have to read that second reading of the office of the readings. It is obligatory. I said many priests do not have time in this modern world. At least let them listen. Reading only once you can read. Listening 10 times also you can read like that. I took time during my free time as a hobby. I recorded 365 readings for the whole year and then 186 plus in addition for the saints. Please get it. I will give the link. You can just get it straight away. Okay. So what I am saying, you can read about him afterwards, I said. So we should have a break after another 5 minutes. Okay. I speak about John Chrysostom first. He was Patriarch of Constantinople. He spoke about perpetual virginity of Mary. Then he spoke about the Garden of Eden was without seed, but Christ without the seed of man. Without the seed of man, Christ was born, he says. Okay, a virgin cast us out from paradise. Who is that? Huh? Eve. A virgin cast us out from paradise. And then a virgin gave us eternal life. Who is that? Mary. He does not acknowledge her outstanding sanctity. That is it. He speaks about fraternal charity so much, but then this one, so loudly, such a famous preacher and saint, those days, how he criticizes. Speaking on Matthew 12th chapter 46 to 50, he said, Christ spoke mildly and pleasantly because she was a mother. Otherwise, he would have scolded her terribly, he says. He could have said, this is not my mother, nor these my brethren, because they don't do my will. Like that, Jesus would have said, but he did not say like that. Instead of saying like that, Jesus was very mild in his saying. Jesus could have said, this, I am not reading from somewhere. This is from a saint, from a great father of the church I am saying. Okay. On John 2nd chapter, that is wedding of Cana, he says, the mother and brethren did not have right view of him. She thought she could order him about. Mary thought she can order him about. How dare? She wanted him to come and render herself service, and then worthy of the first place, he says. So how to understand such saints being critical of Mother Mary? How we understand the right way? We have to understand the intention of St. John Chrysostom. John Chrysostom said, if it was so difficult even for Mary to gain salvation, how much more for you and me? And another reason is, he was speaking of this in Constantinople, in Antiochian area. He can't speak about it in Alexandria. People would have stoned him. So Alexandria gave more importance to the divinity of Jesus. Antioch gave more importance to the humanity of Jesus. So he could say these things in order to instruct people, that they should work hard for their salvation. That was the purpose. So when somebody criticizes Mary, we need not be scandalized. Yes, even some of our own fathers did not understand her. In the context of something they criticize. Let us not be offended because others criticize. That's why when I go through the history, I found even a saint like John Chrysostom was not simply exaggerating the holiness of Mother Mary. Holiness of Mother Mary. You have to understand the context. Okay, we will have a few minutes break, then I will take a 5 minutes break. 5 minutes, then I will.